Hey Scrappy Peeps, this is Suzanna to share with you my second layout, guest designing for Bella Blvd using the Dad Style collection as you see here. And using that same collection, I created a layout that I shared with you yesterday and this particular layout that I'm sharing with you today. So I have these three pictures of my son and my husband. They went up to Northern Virginia and they went to a car show up there, and I wanted to scrapbook that memory of pictures that they sent me by iPhone. So the picture on the left is actually a picture of my husband driving on an indoor SUV course, I guess would be the word, and then pictures that they took of themselves, selfies, and then another picture while they were actually at the car show. And I thought this was a great collection to showcase that the reds that are in the collection go with the red that's in my son's raincoat, as well as the green that's in that Land Rover sign is also in there. And I really wanted to use these shoes that are in this collection, but those shoes my husband wears similar types of shoes, but I couldn't get a good picture of his shoes. So I used the shoes as part of the title, which was a long title, and the title of this layout, it says, Stepping Out with Dad and Having a Fun Time. And that allowed me to use the pennants, the felt pennants, so Dad and Fun, and incorporate some of the other elements that come with this collection. So it is a bit of a grid layout. That was the easiest way to get the long title as well as the three pictures. I struggled with these shoes because I couldn't tell which was a right and a left shoe. So I may have them reversed, but it's kind of hard to tell. I think there's something to do with the toe box and the way that the seams in the toe make a right and a left shoe, but you get the idea. So I used the die cut shoes and the die cut clocks, and the clocks reflect the time, and obviously the shoes reflect stepping out. So I had these three pictures, and what you will see is that I end up backing them with some of the patterned papers, and I cut that particular thing for time. I could have used time. I knew that there was time on that cut apart card, and I couldn't figure out which one, but I liked the smaller time, so I went with that. And while I was looking at that time is when I found this heart that I had used on yesterday's layout, that I'd cut out the heart, and I thought it would make a fun sort of window to nestle the rest of my title next to shoes and dad with some other letter stickers there. So I was able to incorporate both the positive and the negative of that into this particular layout. So in a minute, I will cut that apart, and while I'm cutting it apart, I see that that particular piece to the left there, yep, and I thought that that would be a good backing for the back of that particular photo there. And while I'm cutting these things apart, I thought, oh, well, some of these cards will also make great backings for these photos. And in the cutting apart of this particular heart, I have that red attached to it, and I decided to actually leave the red, and it ends up creating a bit more of a grid. But so as I lay this out here, I have them attached. I'm actually going to go and cut that apart so that I have a little bit of that white for that definition, because everything seemed to feel very crowded with it laid out the way that it is. And it also, having that huge chunk of red above the picture just didn't work for me. So you'll see that I lay it out, and it does have this very grid-like feel to it. However, what I end up doing off camera is I'm going to cut off that pattern paper that's really busy to the right of that bottom picture, and that is just going to frame and mat the bottom picture. And then I'm also going to frame and mat the top picture of my husband and my son with that red and cut that apart there. So a lot of these cut aparts end up being mats to pictures and or the nestled space up there in the heart for the title. I love the colors in this collection. They're very rich and earth toned, which is sort of very masculine. It is a masculine collection, so that makes perfect sense, Suzanna. But I love how they're more young man and fatherly, grandfatherly type colors than they are those primaries of a young boy, a toddler type collection. And as my son gets older, it's nice to have collections that suit him and his dad more than the plethora of toddler collections that seem to be out there. So this is the heart that I referred to that I used on the other layout, and I'm going to just directly stick this onto there. So the thing with the cut-apart cards is you'll see in the two layouts that come up in the next couple of days, I tend to cut out the insides of cut-apart cards because I like the phrases for other things or the words. But if I know they're not phrases that I'm going to use, then I'll just go ahead and use the whole cut-apart card. So to create a little bit of depth and dimension to this layout, I did raise one of the shoes above the other. I toyed with the idea of actually using some twine and actually lacing the shoe and putting shoelaces in, but the idea of the shoelaces with the actual laces that are there, then it looks like there were too many shoelaces in the shoe, so I ended up abandoning that idea. So this is one of the cards that I knew I was going to use the red for the ampersand, so I just used the back corner behind my photo there to matte that. And by matting the photos in different colors, I was able to incorporate all of the colors that are in that photo mat that's going to be on that bottom right hand picture there, and it just ties everything together and gives you that unifying factor. One of the common themes in my scrapbooking is that I do like to have a piece of pattern paper that has all the colors and unites everything. I needed a little bit of a gap there. I just felt like everything was so crowded. If it just and I wanted that gap underneath that bottom left photo to match the gap to the top right photo. So these pennants come with little sticks, but because of the way that I used the pennants, I didn't need the sticks. They weren't actually going to be flying pennants. They're just part of the title. And so where I put that, those clocks there, and you see that busy pattern paper, it's too much going on, and I will actually trim that so that it's just a frame around the photo there. And really these clocks are just to go with the having a fun time and to add that element to the page. So that time was fussy cut out from something else. So the die that I'm going to use here to cut that red that goes with the red that's framing the photo is from MFT, I think, My Favorite Things. And then I'm going to just use my typewriter to type out having a, which I'm going to nestle into the ampersand, which you can see in the close-ups that follow. The letters that I end up pulling did not come with my stash of goodies, nor do they come with this particular kit or collection. They are actually from Illustrated Faith. They're something that I had previously, but they matched perfectly with the green and just kind of tied all of those colors together. So I'm trying to incorporate a few more of the stickers and other things into the layout, and I am going to end up using that mustardy color hexagon that says, I think it says Dad and Me, just to put a little bit more yellow into the layout, and that's going to go on the top right in the picture of my son and my husband there. So I love the way I was able to incorporate those shoes and those clocks into the title, even though they're not part of the theme of the layout. It ended up working out well. So you can see here the Illustrated Faith stickers that I was talking about to complete the title. And we are going to do the Suzanna title shuffle that we usually do because I can't spell and I have some spatial judgment issues sometimes. So that is my second and final layout using the Dad Style collection that was up on the Bella Blvd blog yesterday. I would love if you would go and leave comments for me over there and or below. Enjoy the close-ups that follow. Thanks for joining me today. Take care.